Okay.
Go.
I'm gonna give it a minute.
Want to take over?
Just give it a minute.
Okay, you're good.
Andrew, a second to sit down. Oh, let Andrew sit down. Second. I don't see salute to the flag on this agenda. That's something we want to do?
And
Oh, so want to salute the flag, stretch our legs? Sure. I lead the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice. All right. All right, welcome, everybody. First on the agenda, review and discuss the proposed. Oh, we have an announcement. Just gotta kick in the leg there.
We didn't have announcements on the agenda, but I do have just a quick one, as I'm sure all of you guys are aware, but I just wanted to make the note that our police and fire and dispatch have been working round the clock, and just going the extra mile is sort of the understatement there.
and DBW.
And DPW, and just thank everybody for all that work and care and taking care of all of us and keeping the roads clear, and Anya for riding herd over it all and keeping us in the loop the last few days in the snow. So thank you, everybody.
It's a good announcement. It's pretty impressive. Sure.
Could I just give a special call out to Chief Petron, their emergency management coordinator, and he has been,
That wouldn't bother because he was pretty awesome during COVID. So it doesn't surprise me. Item review and discuss the proposed FY27 budget in preparation for the annual financial town meeting, which will be held May 19th at 7 p.m. in the Wilbur Advanced School. So I would like to, amend the proposed budget to include the third clerk position with the cost and fringes of $82,000. So we will need to fund that position. What we need to do to fund that position. I'll leave that to the town administrator and finance director to walk us through doing that, because we want to keep our balanced budget here with the revenue and expenses approach that we're doing that we haven't done in the past, that we're going to do now. So if we're going to add something in, we're going to have to find it somewhere. And hopefully you found that somewhere. It's an important position from what I've understood. And I'll let you guys take it from there.
and I will, I can't see that screen is.
He has his camera off at the moment. We'll call him out.
Have your microphone
there.
Yes, just needs to be closer to it.
It moves too.
There he is.
John, do you want to explain where we're getting the money for the proposed third position in the clerk's office, if approved?
John, do you have the capital budget up on the screen?
I'm gonna put that up in 1 second. I'm just gonna turn your volume up a little there.
I'll turn the volume.
Make sure we can.
Turn the volume up. It's flatter.
Yes, capital.
You can get rid of the marbles in his belt.
Nope.
He liked that. He likes that joke, I guess.
Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay, perfect. So what we had budgeted in for capital in the FY27 proposed budget was this middle column, which starts with FY 2027, and there's the list of the items that we had in the budget. The first one, which is the radio replacement, we're doing a 3-year lease, but payment in arrears. We expect to have those put in place probably by the end of the summer, which means our first payment won't be until 28. So that's not showing any payments in 27. So we're looking at, which includes $275,000 for road paving projects, about 439,000. So we rounded that up to 450 for capital projects in the budget. And as Patrick made reference to, we put together a budget which we identified all the revenues. So we identified the funding sources and also identified the expenditures. And our goal was to obviously do a balanced budget for this year. So in order to accomplish that and also be able to get the capital expenditures into or get them accomplished in FY27, we could only fund $218,000 from the operating budget for capital. So if you look to the right of the screen, you'll see a capital reserve fund, Fund 420. And what that was accumulation of a couple of things. Over the years, the town would oftentimes put a budget of, let's say, $250,000 in for capital. That would then get transferred over to that fund, and then certain capital expenditures would be made out of that fund. If you recall, when the pickleball was lobbying for some capital expenditures, there was $250,000 that was put into that fund, along with another 175, which came up to about 425, of which there was some monies that were spent on engineering. So based on my discussions with some of the pickleball people, it appears that we would have about $400,000 committed. We're not looking at spending that in 27 because we still are careful about the cash flow ramifications that we're dealing with. So the 400,000 will stay in there in Fund 420, which is basically a special revenue fund, which is outside of the general fund. So if we back out the 400,000, that leaves us with about 273,510 of what I call free capital sitting in the capital reserve fund. So we're able to take the remaining balance that we needed to fund out of the 450, the 232, and fund that from the capital reserve fund. That would then leave us with uncommitted capital at the end of 27 of about $41,510. So that's the means that we're doing it. And again, because, and as Patrick alluded to, if we put something in, we got to take something out. Even though we certainly can't take it out of our accumulated surplus in the general fund, because that's a definite no-no going forward. So we do have funds available in capital, and I think it would be an opportune time to do that. So for example, the road paving project, that's 275,000, but it's more like 411,000 worth of work because the state is going to reimburse us for almost a third. So that 275 is net of the state reimbursement. So we're actually getting closer to well over $400,000 of road repairs for $275,000. So that was something that we were struggling to make sure that we could get into the budget. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but
Add a little.
Sure, go ahead.
Terry. So my brain's simpler than John's. The way I think of it is in what we presented to you at your last meeting, we included funding for significant fire code upgrades, fire code related upgrades to 32 commons. And that was going to come out of the capital budget. And that was, I believe, about 225,000. And, we've since found out through you that, we can make other accommodations to meet the fire code and we don't have to put in a sprinkler system. We do have to do other upgrades to the building, which, as you know, we're in the process of, quantifying and specifying. But essentially, because we don't have to do that, we have more room in the capital budget. And so we can fund some of the things that we thought we were going to have to both exhaust the capital fund with and tap into that pickleball reserve. And now we don't have to do that. And we can fund, as a result, the third position in the clerk's office.
Well, I think that's a good choice. I think we needed 3 people in there to take care of the business of the town, so.
Thank you.
Can I?
Step to the front, please.
I just want to make sure I understand. I'm Jennifer Flather, in case you can't hear me. You can? Yeah. Anyway, so my quick question is, I think this is great, but will we be able to continue to fund this position in perpetuity rather than keep stealing from the capital fund? Or is this going to have to be, a juggle at each year?
You want me to take that or would you?
Well, I can take that. Yeah, so this is going to be built into the budget. So that's going to be in there in perpetuity, I guess, at this point in time too. The capital budget will be flexible. It's a little bit higher this year because we're getting the road work projects in there. And in some years, what they would do is they would take about $125,000 a year and they would try to set that aside and they would charge that to the highway department. And it was getting too convoluted to account for that going forward. So this way, we're isolating what we do need for road construction, and we're putting it in capital. So in a normal year, if and generally we're not going to need road construction every year, but we do need to fund capital on an ongoing basis. And the level that's been done in the past has been at that $250,000 level. So that's doable going forward with the existing budget that we do have.
Can I add something to that, just to Jennifer's point about the position? So it's not an added position, it was an unfilled position. And so
Or unfunded.
well, there was no one sitting in the seat. It was both.
Right.
Yeah, it was unfilled and unfunded. If I could finish, thank you. And so presumably, there will be someone in that role next year and going forward. This was sort of an unusual year in the sense that it was unfilled because of changes in personnel. So that's part of this.
Thank you. John or Anya, do you want to continue? You want to go through some parts of this budget, or do we want to take some questions from the council at this point?
I think if John could go through his summary.
Okay.
If folks don't know, is available in the back. That would be before we get into
All
questions.
right, so anybody needs, we're going to go through this document in the back. Cipocarelli?
One question back up. What, Michael Pocarelli, 510 West Main Road.
Could you go to the mic?
You have to go to the microphone.
What changed with the requirement of the sprinkler system in 32 comments?
Patrick talked to that.
What's the question?
The question was, so as I understood from what you were saying recently, in the last minute, that we don't need to put the sprinkler system in, is that we never have to put the sprinkler system in?
Maybe I can get some clarity to that. The state fire marshal has mandated, never mandated we need a sprinkler system. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, if the community center is going to put children on the second floor, they need a sprinkler system. If the Oddfellows Hall is going to put 50 or more people on the second floor, they need a sprinkler system. We're moving forward. We're not going to put kids up there, and we're not going to put more than 50 people on the second floor. In essence, we don't need a sprinkler system.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question on that? When you say not put children on the second floor, how would that work with the stage and their program?
I'm not in the community center. I don't know.
Sure, can you repeat that, what the?
What I said was, how would that work if the?
You know, I should probably preface, I don't know all the ins and outs. I do know they can't have daycare. If they want to be a
I
daycare,
think that's the.
I think that's the key thing.
distinction.
They can't put the kids up there. I think they can have a play.
Okay,
Uh,
my question, Jennifer, so you can hear me, was that if with the community center and the functions and the programs that they have, and the stage is upstairs, how could they say that they wouldn't have children upstairs? I know when my daughter was younger, we conducted Girl Scouts and brownies up there, so I'm just asking that question. Thank you. You're welcome.
Right, we have, everyone have their document? We have a question. Go ahead.
Just on the same subject.
We're talking the second floor of the community center at the moment. Don't they normally have events where they have 50 or more people upstairs?
I don't know what their capacity is for 50 or more. I'm more concentrating on a daycare, which would trigger sprinkler system.
But you did allude to the fact that it also was if they didn't have 50 or more.
That's the Oddfellows building on the second floor.
Okay. All right. I just don't want, I worry that you're gonna take that out of this capital fund for proposal. And then find out 2 weeks from now that you interpreted something wrong and we really need those monies. I mean, if, in the past, if we've had any potential concern that we might need monies for something, but we're not 100% sure, and we know we have deadlines coming up, we usually put it in. And then, because you can always remove it later, but you're not supposed to add something after that March 1st deadline. So I
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
just caution
Yeah.
that if there's any question at all, maybe you leave it in, make it something separate.
Well, I will say that I've spent many hours and days, as this young lady has, and maybe you have, with Pat Drum and fire marshals, and yeah, I'm pretty darn sure what the fire marshal is mandated to us.
Okay. Yeah.
Document McNamee, are we ready?
He's on
Sure.
mute.
So. So we're looking at this, a budget to, the FY 26 budget compared to FY 27 budget. So if we look at the, let me get it up here on my screen here. So you can see on the revenue side, we've got 18,769,350. In that, we are projecting a tax increase at 4% above the existing levy. So again, that may not equate to a 4% increase in the tax rate because of additions and whatnot, but we are looking by state law, we can't exceed the 4% of the levy. So that is the number that we're projecting in for taxes. And we're also using a collection rate of 98.2, which is what the collection rate was back in 24. Hopefully that would be somewhat of a conservative number, but I think a good number to use for the budget. Also included in that number is 375,000 of collection of past taxes and another 100,000 of interest on taxes.
Can I cut in for a minute?
Sure.
So I understand where the 375 is coming from. And I've been adamant about getting delinquent taxes for years. Delinquent taxes were really high. They've come down quite a bit. So I'm not sure that 375, I don't mind leaving it in there, but I'm not sure that 375 or the 100,000 is going to come to that, because if you have $800,000 of delinquent taxes, sure, you're going to collect those. But if it drops down to 400, and I don't know where it is, you know where it is. If it drops down to 400, you're not going to collect 375,000 of that, because people right now that are holding out are the same ones that have held out for the last 7 or 8 years. So I'm not sure that 375 is a correct number. If you assume that it is, that's fine with me, but you understand what I'm saying? The
Yeah.
higher the taxes is, the more you're gonna collect. As it goes down, the less you're gonna collect.
Yeah, and the sum of that, Gary, is we wind up collecting the prior year taxes in July and August and September. So that gets into a separate revenue category.
Hmm.
So once we put in the new tax number at beginning of July 1st, anything that dribbles in generally in July and August, that'll wind up getting in there as well. We haven't, we are anticipating doing a tax sale on the real estate side of it. I think that number without interest was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 250,000 or so. I mean, the collection rate in the town is very good. But some of this is some of it is just kind of carryover of what that number would be. Like this year, I think we're probably closer to $500,000 in collection of prior year taxes. But
That answers my question.
yeah. And especially when you use that collection rate of 98.2, there is that small percentage that winds up getting into the next year as well. So on the town administration fees, Heather has put together a budget for that, 280,400. That should be doable. Again, the town beach has got 381,000. That has an offsetting expense below, so that in the event that we just have to kind of monitor the expenditures, if the revenue doesn't come in, it could have an impact on the bottom line. But right now, what we're doing is budgeting beach revenues and also the expenses to equal out. The building fees will be, this is net of any monies that are due to the housing trust. The Little Compton Housing Trust gets 40% of only building permits in excess of $10,000. And we are paying that on a quarterly basis in arrears. And we're also almost caught up on what we owed the housing trust in the past. So in this year, in 27, all we'd be paying is the 40% of the building permits in excess of 10,000. Cell tower is a number that we've used year after year. So that's pretty much the monies that come in on the lease of the cell tower. And then we've got some miscellaneous revenues from investments and other items. The state resources are just slightly under $1 million. That includes the housing aid, which is coming in to offset the debt service on the school bonds. That's a little over $300,000 in that one line item. We also have in there the hotel tax, meals and beverages, the tangible property reimbursement, the motor vehicle reimbursement. So all those items are based on what the state has provided us with the budget for, which is what is in the governor's proposed budget at this point in time. So those numbers seem to be pretty solid. I've talked to the Department of Revenue. They're not looking at some significant changes to those line items too. And again, the ambulance reimbursement, this is monies that the fire department pays out of the reimbursements that we get from the rescue runs. We have a third party that collects those funds and remits those. And what we have is an offsetting in the capital. We have an offsetting amount of 190,000. So those funds are used to fund the rescue boat. There's some of the fire apparatus is leased through there. So those are what the expenditures would be relative to the ambulance reimbursement. And again, that one is revenue on the top side, expense on the, so it's a wash, no impact. And as far as the expenditures go, if we look at the school, the school town appropriation is the amount that the town pays to the school. So that by law can't increase by more than 4%. The school committee has passed the budget last night and has submitted that. And that is the number that's in the budget, the 8,508,972, which is 3% over the last year's town appropriation. We also are going to absorb about $65,000 of pension expense that would have been in the FY27 budget for the town. It seems that there's been a history of the town funding what we call our non-certified personnel that are in the town pension plan. So our teacher assistants, our secretarial, and some of our administrative, our custodians are in the town pension plan. So over the years, the town has absorbed that cost. I feel as though we need to bring that out so that we can show the true cost of the education. So we have brought that out, and we're going to be absorbing that cost. So that number has been taken out of this budget and has been included in the school's operating budget. As far as any other significant changes on the operating budgets, really technologies has gone up. As you know, last year we didn't have a IT department. This year we do have one. And what I've asked John to do is to kind of get his handle around all the programs that are needed. And if they're basically needed town-wide and they're not specific to any department, we're going to include those in his budget so we can monitor those costs. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of an increase in that particular line item. The employee benefits, the OPEB, which has come down a little bit. I think what we had last year in that was the pension expense for the school was sitting in that number as well. But we've also looked at these are basically agreements where when certain, mostly public safety employees retire, we're paying their healthcare benefits to age 65. So that's where that post-employment benefit is being charged. And again, they're going to be in the same situation that the town is. Our healthcare is projected to increase by 10% this year. It was 12% last year, so it's a pretty sizable impact on the healthcare. Dental, we're projecting about a 5% increase, although that's not as significant as the cost of the health insurance. We should find out what our actual rates would be sometime probably towards the end of March, maybe early April. We're hoping they'd be below that, but based on the town administrator's discussions and mine with the Rhode Island Interlocal Trust, it does appear that we'll be up in that close to that 10% range. On the financial side, although there's a little bit of a decrease in there, we are adding an HR department. The school has a qualified HR director. And what we're going to do is take away a bunch of her responsibilities over at the school, and she'll serve as the HR director for the town, which I think is an important position to add at this point in time with the number of people that we do have. So that's a little bit of a change in the budget. And if you look down on the last two lines there, the 300,000, which is the general operating, that's the capital. That number, when we do revise the budget, will be reduced by the 82,000. That'll become 218. And we're going to increase the general government, which is for where the town clerk is, by the 82. So that would offset the increase and represent the 218 that we just spoke about on the capital. And the debt service went up, and that's mostly as a result of, we refinanced the school bonds in, I guess it was in FY 25, in the third or fourth quarter of 25. So that budget for the debt service was impacted. The principal number was reduced a little bit in 26. It's getting back to the level that it should be at now. So that's why we're seeing a little bit of an increase there. Now, conversely, some of the revenue monies that we get from the state, which they call housing aid, that offsets the school debt service, has increased a little bit over what we had in the prior years. So the change is not as dramatic because we do have a little bit of an offset on the revenues. So at the end of the day, that gives us total operating expenses of 18,769,350 for this budget.
Any questions on this page for John while he takes a quick breath?
Can I just clarify? I just want to make sure everybody understands that what's on this sheet does not reflect the change in terms of clerk's office and the capital budget. So that's what John's talking about when he says we would reduce the general operating to 218 and we would add in 82 in general government. Also, it's probably clear to you all from looking at this, but you know, there's a few items that account for most of this budget, so a lot of room to move when you think about being able to cut and add. So just between school and public safety, we come up to almost 13 million, and then you add in DPW, general government, and debt, and you're at 16 million. And the rest is kind of small potatoes after that.
Yeah. John, do you want to go page 2? Oh, I have a question. Step to the microphone, please, so the people at home can hear you.
So it was Jennifer Flather, 2 Mullen Hill right now. So it was mentioned at the last meeting, and maybe I missed it, but has there been any thought to increasing some of our DPW fees, such as the transfer station? I mean, because that could go a long way to getting people like a clerk whole without diving into the other funds.
You want me to address that?
Oh, if I had a quarter for every time someone's asked me that, I'd have a.
You could reduce the budget.
Yeah, I've had this question before I was on the council. So would you like to field it this time?
As part of our presentation last week, John and I recommended that we do a full review of all fees, not just DPW, but everything charged by the clerk's office into the dump fees, transfer station, but also our building fees, which seem to be significantly below other communities in the area. So
Please step to the microphone.
but that will not have an impact on this budget because they will not be, they would not be increased until
next week.
at least partway through the year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the answer to that question. Do we have any other questions on this page? We do. Vince, step right up to the microphone. We have a microphone we can just give to the people that don't have to get up.
I could run around.
Good evening. My name is Vincent Kennedy. I have 3 areas that I'd like to comment on. Firstly, perhaps picking up on points. You know, the non-competitive, from my point of view, the non-competitive compensation to the administrator and particularly the finance director. You know, the current budget has the finance, or excuse me, the administrator at 178,000. My understanding of the competitive salary surveys is that a more appropriate range, in my judgment, is somewhere between 190 and 200,000. And with respect to the finance director, personally, I think John is a rock star, but at 75,000, I think that's at least should be doubled. My understanding of the competitive environment is that a finance director for an enterprise of this size and complexity would be somewhere between 140 and $160,000. And I'll just leave it at that. So I think that the compensation for two critical positions here would bear further study. Second point is with respect to the transfer station. I believe Little Compton is subject to adverse selection. Tiverton has a pay per throw of $1 for a 10 gallon bag, $2 for a 30-gallon bag. Port has a $55 charge if you're over or if you're under 65, and $45 if you're over 65. The second ticket is $10. I go to the dump every Monday when it's open. And during an informal survey I took between Memorial Day and Labor Day, there was no week that I went where there was more than 50% of the cars while I was there had a dump sticker. And so I would suggest that perhaps in supplementing the fee increase, that there be a substantial emphasis on non-compliance. That I believe the benefit to the town will be in the reduction of dumping fees or tipping fees as they're referred to, rather than increased revenue. My personal favorite this summer was a D130 truck, Idaho, that dumped 20 bags in our transfer, and they did not have a sticker. So I would recommend, you know, an emphasis on compliance. The last point I would like to address is with respect to the general fund. In my review, pages 18 and 20 of the audit, it appears to me that within the general fund, they had $1.2 million in deficit and an increase of about 400,000 in what is called other assets. That was funded by a decrease in cash of 300,000, an increase in payables of 417,000, and an increase in due to other funds of 922,000. My question is the general fund subject to either statutory or contractual obligations to repay the other funds from which funds were borrowed?
Mr. Kennedy,
And does that, if that obligation exists, does that obligation reflected within this budget?
It's a question for John.
Yeah, so some of that due from is from the is for the school. So in the past, they would wind up making regular transfers so that at the end of the year, the amount that at the financial town meeting that was approved for the appropriation was paid in full. In prior years, especially in 24, when we had a change in financial directors, that was not done. So we had to provide for a due from for that number, which did represent an amount that was owed to the school from the town for some appropriations that were not provided. That more than likely was since we don't need the cash because we had some money set aside on the school side in capital. It was not something that we needed to get from the town at that point in time. So obviously with the cash flow needs for the town, we kind of manage right now. I'm managing both to make sure that that we're able to meet the expectations from our vendors as well as payroll and other items that we do have. So, but that number, it's not really obligated to be paid back, but it is something that we're going to be looking at going forward, especially between the town and the school. So the school has had a little bit of extra money that came in from some collaboratives that were dissolved, where that money was sitting in their capital account. So it was the town was able to use that obviously for cash flow requirements. But we are looking at that. The other thing is that when this cash is like they call it pooled cash. So you have one cash account, but it may go over like 10 different funds. So it becomes a little convoluted. I'm going to wind up changing that, but so some of that winds up affecting the due funds as well too.
John, I wonder if you want to address Vin's question about or his point about the finance director's salary, because I think that's just a portion and it's shared between the school and the town.
Oh, that's the town portion.
Yeah.
The school is separate for that, but I think that that number is lower than it should be, only from the standpoint that I had a weak moment and agreed to stay for one more year so I can get some other things straightened out. So, but we'll have to look at that. We have put some money into the town administrator's budget to do a salary study. I know we did this in Lincoln, and I think it might be appropriate to do that here in Little Compton so that we have a better idea of what the ranges we need to be looking at for some of these positions. So we're going to have somebody independent come in and do that evaluation so that we'll have some better numbers as we look to fill these positions going forward.
Ben, yes, follow up.
I'm not sure I completely understood the question about the answer with respect to the obligation to reimburse the other funds. To me, that's either a yes or a no.
Well, that's a no.
Then good.
Okay.
With respect to the compensation for senior professionals, I think it's a question of how much you're willing to pay to sleep at night. And I think we've had substantial experience with undercompensated and underperforming. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Do we want to go on to page 2 of this, John? Do that? Is that the plan?
Would it be possible to go through the book that we've been given, because it breaks everything down And that's where on it, when she delivered, she says, now I want you to go through this tomorrow. So I did all day.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things on this page two, historically, and of course, times have changed, I understand that. Council used to do the bargaining with the unions. We always seemed to try to hit 2%, and most of the time we did. Now, if it's 3%, all other salaries not covered by a CBA have been increased by 3%. If that's what the norm is, that's fine, and I agree, we may be low, but as I've stated before, this is Little Compton. This isn't Big Compton. This is in Providence, where a police chief makes $175,000 to take care of 3,000 patrol people. We've got 10 people in ours. That's why the justification for some of our fees to be low. And every time somebody says to me, you should be paying a financial director or this person 200,000, and this other person should get 175. Where is this money going to come from if we're capped at 4% every year? I don't know. I don't understand that. Maybe I agree with you. We should have some higher fees for our payments for our workers. But this is Little Compton. There's no bullets flying here. Okay, there's no major fires here. It's not like Providence or Fall River.
There was a major fire. Sit down.
Okay. How many major fires have there then? Let me put it like that. In the last 10 years.
I don't think we need to get personal here.
Okay, I'm just saying.
You can
This is
point, Gary. Yeah, you make your point.
Okay. The town can't afford to pay $200,000 for Anna, $300 for our IT director, $200 what it is now. How is the town going to pay for that? If we keep saying we've got to go up on our fees, and as far as what other towns pay, that's fine. We can look at it, but you got to look at Gloucester. You got to look at towns that are comparable to Little Compton. So I see we've increased the town administrator's fee, and I understand that because we had a hard time getting one. Okay, we're lucky to have John, but to say, well, John should be getting $200,000 this year. Fine. Where's that going to come from?
I don't think we said that.
Oh, well, you said a finance director should be $175,000.
I didn't say that.
No, you didn't say that. I know that. So anyways,
You want to go through your questions, Gary?
yeah.
All right.
So I'm on page 4 of the big book.
Page 4.
Where it says,
Not page 4.
it's up at the top where the page is.
Thank you for that.
Where the OPEB, other post-employee benefit,
At the top.
Anya, I see you have. We have been reviewing these payments and I've been able to remove certain former employees and their dependents who no longer qualify this benefit. Were we paying people that we shouldn't have been paying?
There were some mistakes. I think John is most familiar with the ins and outs of that, but yes, there.
Okay, there were some people. Is there any way we can collect that back from these people?
John, do you want to comment on that?
No, it's going to be difficult to get
Yeah.
that money back. Yeah. It's been cleaned up at this point in time, though.
But that's been rectified.
Yes,
Yeah.
John, done a lot of work to clean up those mistakes. And I should have pointed out at the outset that John is on Zoom. And this is an unusual circumstance that we put somebody on Zoom because he still hasn't been plowed out.
If I could, Gary, if I could just jump in on that.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's a good example of how having a highly qualified person in that position is saving us tens of thousands of dollars in errors that were happening unbeknownst to all of us. So there's a
I
case
agree
to be
to
made
that.
there.
I agree to that, but there's a level that we can afford.
Understood.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to engage. I'm just trying to make that point.
So on page 5. Honor, Anna, if this is a personnel situation, you don't have to answer it, but it says 2 additional contracts for potential retirees, which has added approximately 50,000 to this annual cost. So I'm not sure what that, if it's with personnel, I don't want you to answer it, okay?
I'm not going to name names, but John could talk about,
Yes.
perhaps talk generalities.
Yeah, so Gary, we've got two budgeted for a potential retirement next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is
I mean,
that
if they don't retire, then we're not going to spend it, obviously, but but we do have it in there because there's been some discussion that we could have as many as two.
And then it says the second type of payment is for two agreements with former employees to pay approximately $20,000 in total for life. That is included in this line item as well. So generally, we would pay till they were 65 for health insurance, and they would get whatever they're getting from what they put into the pension. So I'm not sure what that is. I don't have to.
Yeah, that was a line item that I don't know if it was a disability payment or but there's one gentleman that's getting $1,000 a year, and then there's another one that's getting a disability payment. I believe it's like 18 or 19,000 per year.
The recollection is it's firefighters that retired or were retired as a result of casualty that before we had labor contract, if I'm not mistaken. So, and before we had a pension plan under which they would be eligible for a pension. So I believe that was the specific settlement the council made with them back in the 60s or 70s that allowed them to retire, that allowed them to be paid for their lifetime.
So on the finance, where it says the intention is to have a current payroll clerk for the town also and put the school payroll, so the town's going to be doing school payroll. And that's how this $20,000 and $25,000 shift you were talking about before is about.
Yeah, so we're going to eliminate some of the HR director's duties over at the school to allow her to spend her time on what she's been trained to do, which is in the HR area. So that work would then be done by our existing payroll person, so she can handle both. And that would then free this individual up to do more HR.
Okay.
Can I just make a comment here? I think these are good representations of how we're trying to professionalize the HR function. And between what John has brought to bear and what he's recommending, what we're recommending in terms of sharing this resource with the school, we're really going to up our game, which has been, I think, this is a real liability for us as a town that we have not really had somebody is skilled and has the time to do the HR function in the professional way that it should be done.
I agree. We need
In essence, we'll have one person responsible townwide for payroll and a different person with training responsible townwide for HR.
Good. So the next, page 14, if you go down a little bit farther, and it comes to the town council budget.
One.
14,
And it's in the next tab, in the council tab.
the town council tab, sorry. So I see there's an increase in the salaries for the town council members and the president. I, for one, am not looking for an increase in my salary. I'm happy with what I'm getting. I'm doing it for the benefit of the town. I've been doing it for 28 years now. I don't need any more money to do it. So I see that you've got an increase in yours too, Patrick. I would hope you'd feel the same way, but that's up to you.
I don't feel the same way.
Okay. All right, well, I guess we'll have to leave it up to the budget committee. But I, for one, don't need a raise. And legal services. I can see the legal service for the solicitor but we went from 128,000 to 141,000. What was the anticipation for that? Just more legal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can be specific if you like, but
No.
okay.
All right, then the town administrator. And I think what Mr. Kennedy brought up. Well, last year we were at 120, 112,941. This year we've increased to 177,838. One of the $100,000 for a base salary. I think that's adequate to try to get somebody in here. I'm sure people are going to disagree with that. The administrative assistant, is that Martha?
Yes.
Okay. Because I see she's doubled from 7,500 to 15,000, and she's 2 days a week.
In reality, she's been working more than that.
Okay,
So I think that's more in line with the actuals.
okay. All right, and then of course, healthcare jumped up quite a bit and whatever, so, all right, that answers.
And just know, across all departments, we're now reflecting the fringe within that department budget. So part of the jump is that wasn't in there, as you
Right.
can see. in the-
Right, I saw that, I did see that.
And part of the jump in salary, you don't have the actuals here, but I'm working on a part-time basis and this is a full-time salary.
Okay. If anybody else has got anything to say while I'm going through this, I think this will bring us through the whole thing. Advisory boards, this would be page 18. Well, I know that want to redo the comp plan. And the department expense is going from 18,500 to 50,000. Last year, the total amount was 24,959. This year is going to be 58,600. Do we anticipate to do the comp plan? It's going to cost that much money? Or who came up with that $50,000 number?
I believe that the planning board estimated that based on the consulting fees that they think they're going to have to pay to do the comprehensive plan.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we're worried about paying a clerk 50,000. And we're giving another 30,000 to the planning board, and I understand where that's gonna go. But the whole budget with it's like I said, it's gone from 24,959 to 58,600. So, I mean, these are just numbers that are jumping out at me. And I can understand where they're coming from, but I just like everybody to understand what's going on here. So another problem I have with is service contracts. I'm not mistaken. We've got $326,000 and 215, 326,250.
No,
This is on the town hall. And their budget, service contracts have stayed the same. This was page 19. So I'm not saying anything about town hall, but the total service contracts for the town is $326,215. And on some of them, there's no explanation what those contracts are. So that was just started at the town hall, which I don't have a problem with because they've been level funded on that.
I think the biggest increase you see in service contracts is in the IT budget. And some of that is a movement of those expenditures from specific departmental budgets into a centralized IT budget. So it looks like a bigger increase than it actually is. It's reflective more of moving these expenses around, and with that move, managing them centrally through Jonathan so that hopefully we can actually realize some efficiencies and savings and oversee the contracts better.
So in the financing office on page 29, and I think this 29 is out of fine, but it's the next one in the folder. We're at the top, service contracts. Been level funded for the last 4 years at $15,000. And then there's another one, service contracts. It says paycheck, so I'm wondering if there's $40,000 with no explanation on it. And I'm just wondering whether that $40,000 goes to this paycheck system, or did the school have those paychecks?
Gary, we outsourced the payroll to an individual. So her compensation was roughly 20,000 to do the payroll for the town. So we've added 20 to her to handle the school as well. So
Okay.
that's where that number is.
And she's employed by paychecks,
Okay.
not by the town.
No, she's an independent contractor.
Oh,
Because it went from 15,000 last year to 55,000 this year.
The 15 on the service contracts, yeah, that one is probably paychecks in terms of payroll processing.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to look at that number. I'll take a look at the year-to-date stuff on that number, but I know that they can be a little expensive.
Down a little bit farther on that department expense. Last year was 7,000. This year it's 15,168. Is that new computers or something?
No, that is well, that probably is some computerization in there, but we're looking at some changes to the accounting system as well to upgrade that system. So that's what's included in that number.
Okay. So, page 30, operating summary, tax assessor's office. On merit pay, we generally give 5%. I don't recall. She's at 6%. What happens is once you give somebody 6% merit pay, they say, how come I'm getting 5% when she's getting 6% or he's getting 6%?
Yeah, that's my fault. I didn't change that number.
Okay.
So I got to change that number though. I'll make a change. Yep.
Thank you. And the deputy tax assessor went from a clerk's salary from 44,299 to 50,232. Is that because she's been bumped up to the deputy tax assessor?
She's going to make that recommendation for next year. Yes.
Okay, so that's what her salary would be, 50,232.
Correct. For the
Okay.
contract. Yep.
Can I say something on that?
Sure, Carol, go ahead.
For several years now, the tax assessor has attempted through this budget process to just change the title with which someone in her office is functioning, expecting that it would happen just automatically as of the new fiscal year. The administrator and some counselors had corrected her and said that position needed to be created first before you should fund the position and before you should take the salaries from a clerk to a deputy tax assessor. And each year she was asked to come back to the council with that proposal so it could be prepared for the next fiscal budget. That hasn't happened. So I am disappointed that yet again, she's trying to do it this way instead of going through the proper channels. Because technically in your code, you do not have a deputy tax assessor. There is a line item in the union contract that the dollars were put there so that if ever the position was created, they would be prepared. but it's not really created yet. So I just caution you on proposing it this way because the position actually doesn't exist yet. So it's kind of leading the public astray a little bit and letting them think that it's already there when it's not. So I'm not saying that it should or should not happen in the long run. All I'm saying is it should have been done the proper way so that the position was created before you decide you're going to put somebody in it and put money towards it.
So information technology, which is page 20. And John, you can,
20?
yeah, page 20. Like I say, 29 was out of order.
Gotcha.
I'm just following page to page. Right?
Got it.
So I understand we hired Jonathan. And from what I understand, he's doing a good job. So service contracts is another one. When I first said we got $326,000 worth of service contracts. Well, last year went from 75,910 to this year, 154,215. And I'm wondering, there's no computer support. Well, last year was 90,000. Is that computer support put into that 154,000? You want me to? Don?
I think John or Jonathan might want to.
John should probably address it first. John McNamee?
Sure.
But Jonathan can address that. I'm not, he can tell what's in the 154.
Yeah, and I think the computer support line item, well, that has been zeroed out. We're no longer paying the support costs for that previous vendor. That money's been divvied up among probably multiple other lines there. Obviously, the biggest one is that service contracts line. But just so you're aware, that is not exclusively IT software necessarily. That includes things like Vision, Viewpoint, which is open government. So our assessment, our permitting, our records management system that the clerk uses, our budgeting and municipal ERP system, QDS, our GIS systems, what we collect our tax payments through, our town website costs are in there, short, long-term rental and analytics tracking, something to handle that, which from our recent ordinance is in there, web hosting, printing, communication services, postage, secure document disposal and shredding, telephone, and eCode 360, our town code software, all as part of that service contracts thing. So there's a lot more, it is serviced by and maintained by IT. So that's why we're trying to centralize all of those various things under one budget. But it does represent a lot of movement of other pieces of software that other departments use into the line item as well.
Well, that's what I saw, the no line item for, which was 90,000 last year, none now. So I just wanted an explanation what that 154 was for. Thank you, John.
And I think one of the big shifts you see there is correct me if I'm wrong, Jonathan, but the 90,000 goes away because we've hired somebody, Jonathan.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In place of that contracted computer support.
And there are some additional expenses in there. We are upping our cybersecurity game big time, as well as a number of other upgrades to our network, to our services that will really help make other people more efficient and more secure. We just didn't have some of those costs before, but they are very much needed.
Are these costs that will have like a single upfront cost and then taper off a little bit more?
In some cases, or our longer term products that we would buy, network appliances, firewalls, things like that, you get multiple years out of. But some of those costs do cover our antivirus, our email filtering, things that are a per person per year or per device charge. So some of that grows, but it's a very predictable number based on our current size as well.
So then on page 25, operating summary for the police and dispatch. And believe me, I think we've got a wonderful fire department, a wonderful police department. So the only question I had, again, another service contract, 48,595 last year and 58,000 this year. I mean, these service contracts are going up 20%.
If that's IMC, John, I can speak to that one as well.
That what?
IMC.
IMC, okay.
Is that our record system, that line, Mr. McNamee?
I believe it is, yeah.
Okay, so this is a particularly interesting one. Our current dispatch system and records management system that we use for police and fire, the vendor is sunsetting the product entirely. And the state is moving, based on a project the state police led. They're encouraging all departments to move towards a shared statewide system, which will allow for much better interoperability and response times, especially with mutual aid and things like that, more accurate record keeping. But the big one here is that if you do not move, if you move now, as we are planning on doing so, the state is covering the costs of the implementation and migrating all of our historical police records into the system. If we do not participate now, those costs will not be covered. And the software we currently use will be end of life in the next several years. So we will have to find a replacement fully at our own cost. If we don't do the upgrade this year, we will also lose access to the ability to run queries against state record systems and shortly after other municipalities. So we run into a risk where we now have significantly outdated data. Just as an example, we could pull somebody over, the police department, not me, we could pull somebody over and it could show an active warrant that has actually been cleared by the state police. So we definitely need to do that upgrade.
I just see when I see jumps like 20% and I don't see any.
So it does reflect there is a brief period of time where we are required to keep both systems up and running to validate we've implemented the new one correctly, that everything's working properly. So there is a cost of running both of those systems simultaneously, I believe for about 6 months in there. And then we will sunset the old system and that will no longer be something we have to pay for in a future budget.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. Again, on the operating summary for the fire department, level funded from last year, but it's just another service contract, and I'm sure whatever it is, it's mandated by what is it, NEPA, Chief? What is it, the National Fire Prevention?
Piggyback what Jonathan just told you.
Yes.
It's gonna be our part of the system.
The police record system is also the fire record system. This cost on the fire department side reflects moving to a new system and bring us back into compliance with reporting.
Yeah. Can we take a second on the police?
Sure.
So we currently operating at 10 members on the police department? Is that the current manning that we've got? How long have we been operating at 10 people?
John, you want to take that? I don't remember off the top of my head how many positions. I do know we have a couple vacancies that he has been trying hard to fill and he hasn't.
Yeah, I think he had initially, I think they were looking at, if I'm not mistaken, was it 12 for police and 12 for fire? And he's been unable to, he's had a couple of hires that one I didn't get through the academy, and so he's got, initially was looking at 4. When we discussed what he would be looking at realistically for next year, he said he probably would be able to hire 2, which would be a patrolman and a new hire.
And so far, our overtime budget hasn't been blown because a big reason we kept upping the numbers in the police force is because the overtime kept, ballooning. So are we in line with current budget on overtime, even with 10 members on the force and not filling those 12 positions?
Yeah, his overtime has been in line. He's kind of been able to deal with it without having to incur a lot of overtime.
Okay.
So on page 23, the Public Works Department, Get a second page of the Public Works Department. And this goes to our tree warden, which I think he does a tremendous job. He's probably out there right now working. But last, 2 years ago, his budget was 35,000. Last year, we bumped it up 5,000. And this year, we're bumping up another 22% to 49,000. That requested by?
Yes.
That's what he wanted?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll have to leave that to the budget committee. So civic resources. And I'm sure you're gonna have an explanation.
I go over the ones that we're responsible for, Gary.
Yeah.
We're gonna do that later in the agenda. You want to save it for that?
Well, we can do that if you want. I mean, I figured we're going through the booklet once I get done. If anybody has anything to say, once we get done with this booklet, we'll be done.
And just to let everyone know that we have a formatting issue, so we won't be voting on this tonight. To send it to the clerk,
Okay.
to send it to the budget committee. We'll be meeting tomorrow at 5:30 with the agenda of these two things, budget and the which you're going over now, the civic resources. So there won't be any votes on this tonight, but we can certainly discuss it as long as we want. So tomorrow we'll meet, it'll be formatted correctly, and we'll vote on it tomorrow.
Okay.
And if you look at item 3, this is what Gary's gonna get into right now.
So I'm looking at the operating summary, civic resources, 2027 budget.
What page is that, Gary?
That is
35?
I don't have a page.
I got 35.
35.
Okay, yep.
Microphone on? I didn't, did I? Oh.
35 and.
I got it. Thank you.
Oh, in the summary?
Oh, okay. I'm on the big book. I was told to go through it. That's what
I'm proud of you.
Fun.
So I think I have to go through this, I'll have a better understanding,
I love going through it.
spending money on.
I used to,
Everybody, if anybody's got any questions from the audience.
let me just say this. We used to do it at the school when I was chair. I would have a spread of cheese and food. Okay, and McNamee will know, he used to hate it. We'd be there for hours. We went through every single item. And Jonathan, I made him go through every single IT item. And John and McNamee might be having some flashbacks right now, but no food.
Heck, we're waiting for this tonight. So Principal Compton Wellness Center went from 28 to 30,000. I don't have a problem with that. They do that for the town. 750 for East Bay Community Action, that's what they asked for. Venture Coalition, I think they asked for 1,500, up from 1,000 last year. And I think you'll be able to explain this to me because I saw the social services budget go from 31,000 to like 54,000. So last year we gave senior citizen services where they would go in and they come and ask town, well, can we use this for bus trip here, bus trip there, or whatever they wanted to do. I see it not in the 2027 budget. So was it incorporated in the senior citizens?
I believe so. John can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that you'll see that in the budget for the senior services.
Yeah, they added an activities directive in the senior center for, I believe it's 16,000 in there. And then the 9,500, that would be used to offset that budget, the $81,000 budget, so.
Yeah, I know the $9,500. I just didn't want that $16,000 for the seniors to be go away.
Oh, no, that's included in that, into the budget. Yep.
Michael Focarelli. I just want to say that one of the best things that we have done is combine that in the senior services. Sue Sisson, who did a fantastic job for years. Current combination of the position that was created 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that position is such, I work with Pam Coward. It's such a upgrade in professionalism. And as the town that has the highest age population, I think this is really an important area. I wish that the townspeople used that resource a little bit more. As you know, Sue Sisson had to really go undercover to pull out people who needed it, but that has been a really significant upgrade in services that we give to seniors.
So
So
I will say thank you for that. We put a lot of work into that. Councilor Talbot put a ton of work into that. I put a ton of work into that. We interviewed a lot of people for that about a year ago, and I'm so happy that you think that. We didn't know how that was gonna go. And I echo what you just said. Thank you. And I praise the council for voting for it.
So I was concerned that the seniors looked at this and say, well, what happened to our $16,000? Honestly, it's somewhere in
Page
Pam's budget.
Yeah, well, we will, John and I will confirm that, but I believe it's incorporated in Pam's budget.
Well, that's where it should be. She's coordinated with this other
Yeah.
person we did put in there, so she should be having the money.
Yep.
Seniors want to go, they go to senior service for that. So town grant, Eastern RA conservation, 1,500, same thing as last year. I think that's okay. And if anybody wants to say anything, just jump right in. Stay at home, it's 11,900, which is same as last year. Village Improvement Society, 10,000, they asked for 10,000, I think that's okay. Little Compton Community Center, we kept them at 30,000, that's fine. Little Compton Food Bank, I read everything they've been doing. We wanted to, from 30,000 to 37,526, they're asking the same amount, so I think that's okay. 350th anniversary celebration, and I don't want to sound like a killjoy. But the 250,000, the 350,000 anniversary, we requested 15,000, which we gave them. The 250,000, the 250-year celebration, they want 30,000. And if we go back into it a little bit later on, is where I probably should start. They've got $25,000 for fireworks. I don't know how much the fireworks were last year.
they were 25,000.
They were 25,000 last year. And at the end of this booklet, there's another request for 7,000 for fireworks.
Yeah, that's embedded in the recreation, right? Is that right?
I'm not sure where it is, but I don't think we do 2 sets of fireworks. I think this big one is gonna do the job. So when we get to that, I would suggest we take that 70,000. Okay.
I can book early. So that 7,000 has been in there forever. There's an ad hoc fireworks committee.
Okay.
And that $7,000 has been sitting wherever it sits. It hasn't been used since before COVID. So that money,
So if it's not used, it goes into the general fund.
it has been rolled over to the general fund. We haven't had, I can't remember the last time the town had fireworks, but that money has been always in it. So it's money for a 250 celebration, you definitely don't need that 7,500.
Well, that was my thought. I'm gonna spend 25,000 on a big deal for
Yeah,
50, and we don't need 7,000.
yeah, that's
It's
just,
just gonna reduce the
Sure.
budget.
yep, it's just been sitting there.
We utilize somewhere else.
Yep.
Trying to scrape this budget a little bit, so
Yep.
we can try to, we're at 5.5% with that 300.
Totally agree with you. I just,
We need to get down.
Yep.
So Gary, I think you've seen at FY 26, it was 15,000 for the grant. And you've seen the $31,000 added to the police and fire detail in FY 26. So in FY 27, they're asking for 30,000. They have not specified a number for the police and fire detail that I know of. I've asked for it. I haven't got it. And my recollection is correct. They have 30,000 from 350 in the bank. So I think I'm accurate on that. If not, maybe you can tell me, differently.
So
So that 30,000 request, Gary, it does not include police and fire detail. So there's gonna be above that.
So I'm not willing to do anything about that right now. I'll make a motion to amend that down because I think that's the job of the budget committee. We leave it in, we can leave things in high now, but we can't increase them after March 1st. So
That's correct.
the budget committee says, well, maybe we'll give them 20,000. That's up to them. That's not up to me to make a motion on that effect, right?
Not looking for a motion.
No, I'm just saying.
We're gonna make motions tomorrow and vote on these tomorrow.
So I think that's about the only thing that I have because a lot of it is still these external budget requests. And then we go to Parks and Recreation. I don't think I have anything there. I think that's fine. Town Beach is self-explanatory. School appropriation, that's not our purview. So then we get to social and senior services, page 32. This is where I was hoping I could be told that the 16,000 went into the director's salary. What was 31,200 last year, now it's 54,600. So. And what's confusing me, you got senior citizens at the bottom of that subtotal, senior citizen services, where it was 16,000 last year, it's dropped down to 6,500. So I just want to make sure that that 16,000 is in there for these seniors.
Yep, I noticed that too. That's why I said John and I would confirm. John, do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, that
Okay.
6,500 is net of the 9,500 down below in the grant. So that brings it back up to the 16,000.
Okay,
That's the one that we just got confirmation today that we're getting, right?
Yeah, we get that every year, but that,
Yeah.
I think that was that the library today? I thought that was the library.
Oh, we got one from the Senate grant.
Today,
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. No.
John, enlighten me, was it the 16,000 plus the 9,500 last year, which what I thought it was?
Well, yeah, but they've hired a senior activity, salary for a senior activity person too. So we've got that 13,900 that's in there.
Right, I see that, but that's coming out of the 16,000 that was set aside for trips and whatnot for the seniors?
Well, that was part of that, but the 16,000 is still there because you got the 95. Last year, they did have the 95 as well. So that 16,000 was higher by 95. The 6,500 was higher by 9,500, but we've added that senior activity coordinator in terms of the work that they're going to be doing with the seniors. So the money's going, it's just in a different form.
Okay, Anya, if you give me a breakdown of that 54,600.
Yep.
Because there's nothing there with it. I'd like to see how much of an increase of pay she's getting from the 31.2. And I'm not feeling very good about the seniors having 25,000 last year for trips and whatnot. And now they cut back down to, just the 16,000 period. So. Because I know that's gonna cause problems in town. Especially if they wanna go somewhere. And do you know how much is left in their budget, Anya? Anyway, you can give me that tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, Martha I don't have my actuals with me, do you? Yeah.
Either.
So. Getting down to the our management one. We'll say. Let's be self-explanatory. I will say that every year. Yes, I feel responsible because when something happens to the harbor, they come to me. I talk with the harbor master and assistant harbor master and ask them. You want to take a 2% increase in their pay? And they always say, yes, that's not a problem with us. So, I mean, I do that because I think that's appropriate. Some people think everybody should get a 5% raise every year. The way the economy is, I just don't think that's fiscally responsible for the town. And then on that last page, there was correction. Down Harbor Management Fund, way down at the bottom where it says the Harbor Commission recommendation to raise mooring fees for the first time since it says December 2023. It was actually 2013 that we raised, the last time we raised fees. So, and that's all I have.
Anyone else on the council?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Jonathan, for confirmation. Thank you, Anya, for you did a wonderful job on this.
Kathy?
I'd like to focus the council's attention on opportunities for increased revenue. And they, in my mind, are the non-tax sources of revenue. I referenced the transfer station, currently at $5 a year. The two closest neighbors are at $50 a year. If we were to triple our fee to 15, that would be another approximately $42,000 or $3,000. And we would still be substantially below our competitors. I also think you might want to consider the inspectional services, because those are largely price indifferent. You either are going to get a plumbing permit or you're not. And it's not subject to a lot of discussion. And it's not competitive. So I really think that, in fact, there are a substantial number of additional revenue opportunities. Witness, as you pointed out earlier, the harbor masters, increase, in what was it, 12 years or so?
2013.
13, so more than 10 years ago. And so there may be other pockets of lagging revenue opportunities. And I suggest, a very laser-like focus on the non-tax sources of revenue. Thank you for your attention.
And I think we got to do something about the transfer fees, okay? We've tried to do it probably 3 or 4 times, haven't we, Bob? Try to raise them.
I've been here for one.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Didn't go well.
It didn't, did it? So, but I think we just got to bite the bullet if people say that's, we can't afford that. I think it should be $50 is what I think it should be. Because people go there just about every week. And as Mr. Kennedy said, Tiverton does charge $1 a bag, but they also have pickup on that $1 a bag, where the trash truck comes around and picks that up. They don't have to drive it to the transfer station. Try to do that with the construction debris to try to raise the fees on that because people would just loading their trucks up and bring it over there for $50 or
On the
something.
other hand, Westport is 55 and they no pickup.
Right, and
So I just suggest that there are opportunities. As a further example, the short-term rental ordinance could be expanded to include non-advertised properties. And it could certainly be expanded to rental periods greater than 30 days so that the entire season could be incorporated into that. So again, I think that a creative approach to additional revenues may prove profitable.
Thank you. Thank you. Really?
Gary, you're the proponent of not turning us into suburbia.
yes,
So having just had that conversation about Pam Coward and the senior
yes.
citizens, there's a lot of on the poverty line in Compton. And so for me, if you raise it to $50, I can live with that. But there are a lot of precise household budgets that
I know.
$5 fee is generosity. So I just want to.
I said I'd like to put it there. I didn't say that it's going to happen, okay? Because I don't want to get tarred and feathered.
That, I've heard a lot about the unsuburbanization of Little Compton, and this is Little Compton. So when we assign the transfer station fee, just remind yourself of that.
Just to go back to when we did it, changed it from $0 to $5. The purpose was to prevent Tiverton and other towns from sending people with no sticker. Your observations are well taken. Understood, there are still people that don't have a sticker in their cars. But the idea was a nominal fee. We changed it from the clerk has to go outside to put the sticker on to where the person is just issued one. So for $5, it became a way to say, if you can't get a dump sticker, you can be then stopped at the transfer station. And to all the points that have been made, all very good points. And that's the whole point of this thing being a council decision based upon the people's input. We're starting to hear from the people that would sure like that to go up a bit rather than our taxes be changed to support things we don't want to support. So we just have to be careful. We five have to be careful that we listen to everyone and then we move in a direction that's consistent with that.
So if I could just say, you said we're starting to hear, I've been hearing from people forever. I hear from almost daily about the dump.
Hearing 8 years ago.
Okay, that's good. And the dump is something that it just sits on everyone's head in this town. It's crazy. So I don't know. I've thought of things. I haven't really said much about it. Maybe we need to hire someone to do an independent analysis of the dump. And, we've got people coming in there and they're dumping all kind of stuff. And I've talked with Heather about this for an hour. I've talked with Curtis. I've talked to Boddington. I think I probably even talked to Carol. It's crazy. All right. Everyone's got their opinion about the dump. So at some point, we do need to slay that dragon sometime. And I look forward to maybe being a part of that. So,
Can I add to that?
sure.
I just would say that I think that supports Anya's suggestion that we do a comprehensive review of all of our permits and fees, evidence from the Harbor Commission that was over, or Harbor Department, whatever, that was over 10 years ago. I think a lot of these are old and haven't been looked at for a long time. And so look at all of them, not just one of them, and make a proposal and have a community discussion about it. It seems like that it's due.
Thank you. I was going to jump back to Ben Garcia. Come on up.
Like Ben Gauthier. So, the harbor thing, I have to credit John because I had no visibility into the Harbor Management Fund until he was in the chair. And so one of the first things we did was correct our rent seeking to cover expenses. But I'd like to talk to you about a different thing.
Ben, can you do me a favor and have the microphone at your mouth?
Yeah, so I'd like to just talk to you about some scars from being on. Is it on? The light is not on.
Right,
There it is. Okay. Talk to you about experience on a number of years on budget committee. And one of the things that I think I'd really like the council to provide leadership and guidance to the town is on the size of the general fund. We used to take a lot of heat for carrying a general fund that people thought was excessively large. And having come through a period of bad fiscal performance and now, thankfully with professional help recovering from that, I think it's incumbent on the town to really put a statement out on what is right sizing of the general fund. And we didn't really understand it until we got our AAA bond rating. And Scott Morrison and I asked the underwriters, what's the basis for this? And it's really the unrestricted general fund that allows the town to meet obligations no matter what happens in the weirdness of the state, no matter what natural disasters befall us. The town can stand on its obligations because of the size that the fund was, right? And so I think an analysis is due with, people like Mr. Kennedy and others that can help the professionals in the town to say, what is the vision for the unrestricted fund balance? As you look at year by year developing this budget book, that target note needs to always be in mind so that we can keep, building back to a point where we can provide debt service that's more competitive than any municipality in the state, and come back to where we were. So again, I'd like you folks to put that in the town's mind, keep it in your own mind as we plan for future years, that we really do need to right size that again. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I'm just gonna jump back to the agenda real quick and we can still take questions on anything on it. We talked about item 1, we talked about item 2. I said we're gonna vote on those tomorrow, so I'll leave those there, but we can still go back to if there's any questions. I'm gonna jump to item 2. Council to consider inclusion in the warrant for the annual financial town meeting to authorize town council to enter to a lease extension with the Little Compton Community Center, a property owned by the town of Little Compton, a Grange building located at 34 Compton, also described as et cetera, not to exceed 50 years and for a lease payment of $1 per year. The town council negotiate other terms and conditions of the lease. Just to bring everyone up to date, the council knows this. Myself and Councilman Mushin meet with the Commons Committee, the community centers representatives, and we've been doing that for a while now. And it's culminated with this. We have briefed the council a couple of times, I think, in executive session on this issue. And now we feel I think I could speak for Council Mushin. We want to get it on the agenda. I will say I'm going to make an amendment. I won't make it this second to change not to exceed to up to 50. So when we get to that point, I'll probably make that motion. We want to discuss this by the council about what me and Councilman Mushin are proposing here.
So the only thing, this would they have 16 years left now on there? So that would become null and void?
Correct.
Okay.
Proceed that.
And this will take it for 50 years as it was before, so I don't have a problem with that. I'm on board with that.
All right, any other questions? Sure.
Amy said that she needed to get funding from many different sources. That she needed that 50 years or a longer period than what she has now, because they didn't want to fund something that was only going to be there for 10 years.
Correct again.
So, okay, thank you.
Bob, would you like to comment at all?
No, I think you captured it. That is what we discussed.
Anyone else from the council? I see a active town administrator who wants to speak on this. Go ahead.
Moderator.
Oh, moderator.
What did I do?
I knew you'd have something. I knew you'd have something.
I have trouble.
Larry Anderson, I am speaking as town moderator here, but I'm glad to see this from the moderator's point of view, being on the warrant. I think that my recollection is that the previous lease was adopted before the adoption of the charter which changed the requirement here, in effect, to have a lease of town property go to town meeting. So I did have a conversation with the town solicitor at some point to review some of the history of that. And the other thing I would say is that this is a placeholder. If there are details of the lease that you need to amend, that can be done at town meeting. And I would just say as a matter of practice, it probably be good if you can accomplish it to have the agreement pinned down by then, in case you wanted to make it public before the meeting. So people might give you a vote of faith to go ahead and do it, but it might be helpful to actually have it
MOU.
be able to make it available to the public so they know exactly what they're so I'm glad to see this, and it could be amended at a meeting if need be. So
I don't see any reason that either side would be of the negotiating opposed to that. And to your point,
Don't do that.
it gives everyone a sense of comfort about what it is we're talking about when they arrive at the meeting, and hopefully it then doesn't require us to schedule a second town meeting.
And when I look through the history of the application of Charter Section 103, and you will, I remember this, Bob, I had forgotten it, I wasn't involved in it, but when the council negotiated the lease for the current cell tower, after the first proposal was obliterated at town meeting.
Right.
And it took several years for you to develop a different plan. I came across we actually had a special town meeting in which the lease was mailed to the voters at that time. It was, boilerplate, a lot of fine print, but we sort of went the other way to make sure that they knew what they were voting on. I had forgotten that. So there is a precedent for doing it.
So that was back in Jane Cabot's time, because I can remember we got beat up down there the first time we brought it forward. And then we waited a couple of years. We
Had to
took a beating on that.
start again, yeah. And the voters killed it one time and it sailed through the next time. Yeah.
I'll read this slowly. The language, council to consider for inclusion on the warrant for the annual financial town meeting to authorize the town council to enter into a lease extension with the Little Compton Community Center for the property owned by the town of Little Compton, known as the Grange Building, located at 34 Commons and also described as Assessor's Plat 20, Lot 6, for a lease term not to exceed 50 years and for a lease payment of $1 per year, with the town council to negotiate other terms and conditions of the lease. That's what the agenda item says. So what I'd like to do is make a motion to amend the warrant item that I just read by deleting up to and by deleting not to exceed and put in up to and forward the warrant to the town clerk for referral to the budget committee.
I'll second that.
Thank you. So in discussion, I think I've done that correctly.
Can you read just that last part with the up to?
I'll let you want me to make two motions to amend first and then make the motion. I can happily do that.
I am not your clerk.
I'm not talking to, I wasn't.
I didn't even get.
I wasn't talking to you.
I'm still trying to get what you said. Can you repeat what you said first, please?
He could probably give it to you.
Motion to amend the warrant item by deleting up to.
No.
There is no.
Not to.
Oh, sorry.
Delete not to exceed.
Not to exceed, sorry,
Substitute not.
sorry, that's my mistake. Motion to amend the warrant item by deleting not to exceed
Inserting.
and inserting
Up to.
and forwarding the warrant to the town clerk for referral to the budget committee.
As the last phrase of the warrant, of the motion.
Yes. Okay with that? You want to critique that, moderator?
So just something you're voting on right now. I mean, you're voting on the forwarding all the.
No.
Oh, just the community center.
Yes.
Just the community center lease agreement.
So I don't know if you're
I'd
gonna.
like to get this right because I don't have it on the agenda for tomorrow.
That is correct.
So, do you think, you okay with this? I'll ask the audience, do you think we're okay with this?
If she has the proper wording, yes.
Thank you. So I'll make that motion. I think I have a second.
You do.
Any further discussion? Not seeing any, all in favor? Aye. Thank you for that. We can talk about, the other two items, the budget or the out of budget stuff now, or we can adjourn. We can pick this up tomorrow at 5:30. So, do I have a hand? Go ahead.
Well, in either case, there's one, I'm, again, speaking as town moderator, I was in town hall today. I talked with, Councilmember McHugh and Talbot about this. There's an ongoing conversation about this from a town moderator point of view. There's a couple matters involving the relationship of the warrant and the budget committee report and charter language. It came up at town meeting last year, and I just wanted to raise this now in case it was felt that any change should be made. But and it's a modest thing, but I can see where it would be problematic from the voters' point of view. You will recall, and Carol and I think last year had a conversation at town meeting that we amended the charter in 2022 to section 204 to add that's the notice and agenda for meetings, and we added a sentence that the listing and text of the warrant should be added a sentence describing the relationship of the warrant with the budget committee report and the post and the creation of the warrant. We added a sentence: voters may amend the total amount listed for an individual warrant item, but may not amend individual items within such warrant item. And there really is one. So we have the warrant that Heather will prepare. We have the budget committee report that mirrors it. But both this has evolved over the years, and we put in a phrase where we have line items in the budget committee report. We put in a phrase estimated distribution for years. Then we changed the charter to make clear what that meant, which is that voters can't, and I think, Scott, this came up last year, voters can't say, I want to reduce the line item for the fire department fuel budget. They can only vote on the bottom line for the fire department. There's one area where I think this is a little problematic, and that is the article that we call advisory boards, which is sort of a misnomer, because when I look at these, they're not all strictly speaking advisory boards. Some of them are quasi-judicial housing. They have planning board, the zoning board, the housing trust has quite a broad power. So in the event that voters, and they're each different. So in the event that voters wanted to affect those budgets, all they can do under the charter is propose an amendment to the bottom line, pushes it back to the council to comply with that. And I don't want to get too deep into these, but I know there are case laws about this. That's sort of why this is in here. So one suggestion I would have, it would seem like a pain in the neck, but as a practical matter, it wouldn't be, is just to separate all those into separate articles. The advisory boards, just because they're different and you have situations, excuse me.
Anything that prohibits us from doing that?
My opinion, no. These are articles that have evolved over the years. They all got here in the first place. We didn't always call them advisory boards. That's my opinion. You're a solicitor, you can give you advice on that, but these are included in the matters under the council's jurisdiction. So I'm just saying that if the town clerk and the council were to get on the same page, we just add, 7 one-line articles here for each one. And then if there is some concern about the voters want to have a say in the matter, they have an opportunity. My guess is that's not going to come up too often. If it does, maybe it should. So that's just, it's a one thing, but the fact that we amended the charter in 22 doesn't, customary practice, it does affect the format of this article. So I just raised that and something to think about while you're working on this. It's something that could be done, just some reformatting basically and adding some numbers and adding some more articles, but that's between you and the town clerk, I would say.
That would have to be done sometime tomorrow, so we can.
Well,
That's not what I'm trying to get us done.
Day or tomorrow. I wanted to get it in now because you might want to think about whether you want to do it and what, you might want to talk it over. I just wanted to raise that because I'm looking at it. I'm not elected moderator, but I'm serving an elect position, and the moderator's job is sort of to look out for all the voters. And I do the kind of thing where the voters' rights get nibbled away a little bit incrementally by some of these decisions we make, or we don't even make the decisions. We just don't make a decision. So that's why I raise it. Thank you.
Okay, I gotta just, okay.
Get some history.
You
want the budget? I don't remember why we did it, but we put them all together. And it'll allow.
I'd like us to separate them out. Just tell us and we'll do it that way tomorrow.
No, I'm just saying if we did it that way, and I can't recall why we merged them that time, but by not merging them, the planning board and we're both gonna do some sort of project. They could end up, we could say, all right, you do yours instead of you doing yours this time, we'll do it the other way next time. So we deliberately made use of that ability. I don't have specific.
I'm just making a suggestion, and since I'm no longer clerk, you can do as you please. But where it normally says an article number and advisory boards, maybe you'd say advisory boards and then list the boards individually with their own article number next to them. Maybe a footnote that says these may be voted in a group separately. And then that would then give the public a chance to say, planning board one thing, zoning board another thing, and it wouldn't be as much change typing wise, so that you're not recreating the wheel here. You've added just article numbers to it.
You recreated the wheel multiple times.
Okay, well, I don't want to recreate any more wheels.
It's a good idea, I think, Carol.
Carol's charter does provide that articles can be proposed in a group. Both by anybody, basically. The council could do it, the budget committee does it every year, and voters can do it as well.
Okay, thank you. I have to do something very painful here, and hopefully it only takes a second. The motion I made on the Villa County Community Center was wrong. I just looked at I just looked at my notes, my email from the solicitor. So we're gonna have to roll that back. I'm gonna rescind my motion.
Just reconsider.
I'm gonna reconsider my motion. What happened was the solicitor put up to, and obviously it's not in there. He put up to in there and it kind of messed me up. So I'm going to make a motion to amend, I'm gonna make a reconsideration, make a motion to amend the warrant item by deleting not to exceed and add of and move the warrant to the town clerk for referral to the budget committee. So we'll now read for a lease term of 50 years. There's no up to, and there's no not to exceed.
Second.
Wait, say the words again, please.
I'm going to make a motion to amend the warrant by deleting not to exceed and placing of in there and forward the warrant to the clerk for referral to the budget committee
For a lease of 50 years.
of 50 years.
Okay.
Awesome. Sorry about the semantics of that. I thought it was a little weird. I checked. So I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any further discussion? Not seeing any. All in favor?
Aye.
I appreciate your patience in that one. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Come over. Second.
All in favor? Aye, thank you. We'll see everyone tomorrow at 5:30 for our vote.
Thank